Welcome to episode 58 of the Reluctant Leader podcast. I'm Paul Jenkins, your host. Listen, leaders like you and I, we carry a lot. Some days it feels like we're holding our breath just to make it through. Today, we're talking with my friend Dustin Scott, who is one of my doctoral cohort members. He's a husband. He's a dad to a miracle kid. Listen, I'm not even kidding. Stick around to the end to hear that story about his son, Roman. He's been in the field of helping people with recovery for a long time, and now he's shifting into a role where he's teaching theology. So we talk about how recovery is spiritual formation, how a simple, slow breath can invite God's peace, and why Jesus loves to meet us in the mess instead of waiting around until it's cleaned up. Think like Philippians chapter 2, right? Jesus came close, and now we can too. I think you're going to love this conversation. If you're ready, let's jump in. Hey, we're just honored to have Dustin Scott with us today on the Reluctant Leader podcast. Now, listeners, you know this, I'm in a doctoral cohort. I'm pursuing a doctorate, a D-Min. You got to say that carefully so people don't think you're getting a demon, right? In spiritual formation and relational neuroscience, that's a mouthful, and Dustin's in the cohort with me. You guys know I'm kind of in the process of trying to interview everybody that's in our cohort. You guys are meeting some awesome people, and I can't wait for you to hear what Dustin's got to say. We're so glad you're here, and you're joining us from Arizona. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, so
Tucson, Arizona.
yeah, so
it is.
Yeah, thanks for getting on a little earlier than I am. Right, it's midday here. It's the beginning of the morning for you guys there. Just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll jump into some of these questions.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. It's been fun. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, so it is a little earlier, but I have a almost 5-year-old. He'll be 5 on Saturday. Been married for 13 years. My wife is a graphic designer for the University of Arizona here. She grew up as a missionary kid, and we met while I was a youth pastor way back in the day. I was a youth pastor at 19. Don't do that. It's real dumb.
A youth pastor at the age of 19?
Yeah. Real dumb. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, that could be a whole nother episode, couldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. It was. I learned that pastor wanted, he wanted somebody who would like be a yes man, and he learned very quickly that that's not who I am.
Right.
And so it was a disaster all the way around. But one of her sisters was in that youth group, so we met while doing that, and we have good life, so like you, I'm in that cohort. I got my master's in spiritual formation and leadership from Friends University.
Okay.
And kind of wanted to do that because I was in the recovery world, worked in social work for 13, 14 years, mostly with people in recovery. And so I started to realize recovery is spiritual formation. And I should probably go down that rabbit trail. And there ended up being, I didn't know at the time that there was degrees in that. So I was thankful to find that. Had a great time. So.
And I love that. Recovery is spiritual formation because I guess until you said that, I've always maybe by default assumed that people need to recover so that they can form spiritually. But I love the way you said that. I mean, do you mind just diving into that a little bit more? Recovery is spiritual formation.
Yeah, I remember sitting in a training for the workbook we were using at the time. I was running the women's recovery program for the Gospel Rescue Mission, and we use something called the Genesis process. So it's as far as like Christian recovery things go, it's one of the best out there. It uses a little bit of neuroscience, a little bit of like family therapy. And there's some things I love about it, some things I don't. But I remember sitting in this training, and I don't know what it was that the guy said, but a light bulb went off. I have been reading a lot of Dallas Willard and a lot of Richard Foster, and something he said just like connected the dots, like, oh, he's talking about spiritual formation, but he's talking about the 12 steps.
Hmm.
And in that meeting is why I started doing research on, like, is there a degree for this? Is that and there is. Yeah, so for me, the 12 steps um, define what it's just naturally what Jesus does.
Hmm.
Um, that um, he doesn't have to submit to his higher power. He is the higher power,
Right.
um, but I think about like John 10 and Jesus saying, like, I can't do anything I don't see the Father already doing.
Yeah.
Like, what a mind-blowing thing for Jesus to say. Not I won't do, not I'm not willing to do. I can't do
Hmm.
anything I don't see the Father already doing. Like, that's steps 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And like you just keep going down the line and you realize, like, oh yeah, this is life with Jesus. Um,
Yeah.
knowing what our defaults are, and knowing um, where our character doesn't match up with our actions, and seeking forgiveness and forgiving others, and continuing to find a life of being with Jesus. I mean, it's the 12 steps is spiritual formation in that way.
Yeah. What I love about that too is Jesus is with us in the process, right?
Yeah.
So, one of the ministries that's really impacted me in our church recently is a ministry called True Face, and they've got a book called The Cure. And one of the things that I took away from that book, it's kind of an allegory, but it's basically we tend to see our sin or our addiction or our mess, whatever we want to call that, as this big pile between us and Jesus. And if we can just
Mm.
work our way through that mess, we'll eventually kind of get Jesus as our reward. And he's waiting on us to clean up so he can take us too. And they keep saying over and over again, like, no, Jesus is actually on the same side of the mess with you. And he's like,
Yeah.
hey, I see that mess. Let's tackle it together. And I think when you say like recovery as spiritual formation, that's the picture in my head, is like, that's really beautiful that he's
Yeah.
not, hey, you're really jacked up, and if you'll get your life somewhat together, then I can step in and help you finish it out. And he's like, no, you can't handle any of it without me. So let's just go ahead and do it together.
Right.
It's just
Absolutely.
that's a really beautiful, simple way to say it. I appreciate the way that you said that. Let's talk about bringing peace into those situations. Then, like, how do you? One of the things I'm learning, this is new. This is new language for me, maybe not for you. Is the whole idea of like self-regulation, and how do you help people bring peace into their chaos, and how do you, as somebody who's helping them, like, you got to regulate yourself so that you can help them regulate. How do you just? That's a mouthful of a question, but how do you kind of handle all that? What's your process for that?
I'm not sure that I have a process, because it's one of those things where people usually end up in my office in some sort of chaos, and they usually say, I like coming in here because you're the person that calms me down.
Mm.
um, and and every time someone says it, I think they're lying because I don't I I don't think of myself as a very peaceful human. I think I'm able to. Um, I think part of it is that I'm such a worst case scenario thinker that nothing surprises me.
Mm.
Um, like, you could tell me the worst thing, it won't shock me, because I've probably already thought about it. I've probably already imagined myself in that situation.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably the terrible superpower of calm for me, is there's nothing you can say that's going to throw me off.
Yeah.
Um, the shadow side of that is because I'm already in that turmoil all the time. Like, I'm not good at calming myself down. I'm really good at calming other people down. But calming my own self is a constant um, battle,
Yeah.
to you know and that, I mean, as the podcast is aptly named, like, that's usually what happens, right? People in leadership
Mm-hmm.
Good leaders anyway, usually don't want to be leaders, right? They usually don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah.
And I think the same is true when you find somebody who's like, man, they're really good at calming me down. Yeah, it's you probably because they're living in their own stuff all the time, and they just, at least for me, it's a I've been there. I'm with you. I'm with
Yeah.
you in it right now. That's how I do it.
Yeah.
I think of like the Hulk, that line that the Hulk gives of like, the secret to calming his anger is that he's always angry. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
The secret to calming other people down is that I'm never calm myself.
Yeah.
I just know how to, yeah.
So I guess in a sense, you're giving people tips, tools, peace
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
are also learning to give that to yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
tension that we live in. You're right. I mean, that's the reason I call this the Reluctant Leader podcast. I'm not scared to be a leader. I'm just like, God, are you sure you want to use me? Like, there's not somebody
Right.
else. And I do think that that's a theme we see in Scripture. Like Henry Nouwen saying, like the wounded healer. Like, Jesus
Mm-hmm.
comes to break us, but also to then remake us. I mean, like in that brokenness, Paul says, in his weakness, in my weakness, he's strong. There's this like, okay, it's uncomfortable to be in this place, but now that I'm in this place, I see your power more clearly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
Amen to
think
that.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's beautiful that you offer that. I feel like you just offer that as a gift to the people that come and sit in your office,
Yeah.
to have them be able to say like, I can say anything and you're not going to freak out.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and what I'm appreciating about this is that cost you something to be able to do that. You've
Yeah.
had to deal with your own stuff and continually dealing with your own stuff so that you
Yeah.
can offer that to people as well. Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and on that tool side, I mean, the thing that I tell people a lot, um, and some people kind of scoff at this because they're like, no, it's too easy. It doesn't do anything for me. But I'm convinced it's the most helpful thing we can do is just breathing. It's one of those really simple, like, yeah, okay, but like, no, but it really does. Like, I'm sure you've read, and some of our reading too, like neurologically, breathing just does more for the brain than just about anything else, to calm people down. I
Mm.
think there's like a theological truth to that of like when I think about God breathing into Adam to bring him life, right?
Mm.
Like that Hebrew word, that ruach, that spirit, that life. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think when we take the time to pause and breathe, what we're doing is inviting like God's spirit, God's life, um,
Yeah.
into our brains to calm us down. I think that there's something powerful to that, and people just a lot of people just say, no, 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 that doesn't do anything for me, and I'm
Yeah.
convinced that they just haven't slowed down enough to pay attention to their breathing. They're just going through the like motion of the thing and hoping it's some kind of magic pill. But um, yeah, to be aware
Yeah.
that um, God's breath is your breath is a powerful thing.
Yeah. I mean, even slowing down, right? Like you can't
Yeah.
take a deep breath quickly. It's not
No,
actually
no.
possible. So we just in our church last night we just started another. We do these things on Wednesday night. It's called Equip You, and we're doing an Equip class. John Mark Comer's practicing the way. We just started the Sabbath practice last night, and their first one was just stop. Like just Sabbath, just stop and rest. Don't even think about what you're going to do. Just hit the pause button, and you just kind of watch people's faces, my face as well, and you're just like, how do I do that? You literally just stop. And
Yeah.
I do think a lot of people are like almost I picture somebody just like they're so stressed, they're so frantic, they're in such pain that they're just just taking these quick breaths. And the only way to break that is just take a deeper, slower breath. And I love what
Mm-hmm.
you said there, like God breathing into Adam. Doesn't it say that Jesus breathed on his disciples and they received the
Yeah.
Holy Spirit? Like we
Yeah.
see that theme over and over again. I've read about breath prayers, like you kind of breathe scripture in, breathe out. Like Yahweh was to be breathed in and out. It's all through scripture. And yeah, there's those deep cleansing breaths. It's it sounds so new agey-ish,
It
like,
does,
oh,
yeah.
just take a deep breath. But like literally, if God is the one who created us, there's
Yeah.
nothing more honoring than just allowing the body to work the way
Yeah.
he designed it to work,
Right,
Yeah,
right,
so
absolutely. And I think people scoff at it because it doesn't directly attack the problem, you know?
yeah.
And so they what they're wanting is tell me how to fix it. And when you tell them I'm not going to fix it, I'm
Mm,
just gonna help you like confront the thing, right? Like use like that standing in front of the pile of the thing. We're gonna help you look at the pile for what it is.
right.
Um, and slow down enough to see it is a really difficult thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that resonates with me as a pastor. Well, I mean, just first as a human, but as people come to me with their problems, I think most people would rather have the problem fixed than have their soul healed. I
Oh,
don't I don't
oh
think they would express
yeah,
it that way.
yeah,
I think that but that's basically like if you can just help me get out of this mess. And
yeah,
then they just continue going on and they're going to be in another mess later because they're not healed. And but fixing a mess is quick, healing a soul not
right,
quick.
yeah,
Right?
oof,
It's like
yeah. No, I resonate with that. I resonate with that. I do it too. Um, I think it's one of the reasons, like Matthew 5, of like Jesus saying, "Hey, if you go into the altar, you're on your way to church Sunday morning, and you remember that you have a problem with your brother or sister, go fix it with them. Go fix it with them, and then come back to the church." And people do have this idea. They're like, "No, no, no, I got to fix my stuff with God first, and then maybe I can work on the other relationships." But that's not the way that Jesus frames that. And I think part of it is that attachment thing of like God knows He's not going anywhere. That relationship is just fine.
mm,
But this human relationship, this we're pretty fragile. We're on
yeah.
a we're on a much shorter time frame to work on
Yeah.
stuff, and so yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. Of yeah, um, yeah, I just want Jesus to. Yeah, I wouldn't have phrased it that way, but that's exactly what it is. I want Jesus to fix all the other things, and then we can deal with all my crap. Um,
Yeah.
but often it's yeah, that's not how it works, and that sucks.
Yeah, well, I'm assuming this just practically as like from my perspective as a pastor, some messes don't get fixed. They can't
No,
get fixed. And
yeah,
so that cannot be the goal.
right.
So like even I've said this to people, marriages go through tough time, hard seasons. Some
Hmm.
marriages end and they don't get reconciled. Um, God is way more interested in healing the individual spouses than he is in
Hmm.
healing that marriage, which I know sounds
Yeah,
really odd in the South because we've made an idol out of marriage, but it's a good, I mean, marriage is a good thing. I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but we've like almost, I read a book that said the church just seems to be, it's more interested in saving the marriage than it is in saving the people in the marriage. And
yeah,
I think what we're talking about is like some of these issues are always going to be there. Like
right.
you may not ever be able to fix that problem, but if your soul is healed, like what does it say in Jude or in Third John? I pray that you would prosper even as your soul prospers. Like that's where it
Mm-hmm.
starts. Like
Mm-hmm.
on the inside, this interior freedom that we're reading about right now. These books that are just like, oh, it's a snooze fest. Sometimes just trying to get through them. Sorry if anybody in the class heard that. I mean, what I meant to say was these are great books, but like it's just hard work to pause and look inside,
Yeah.
and we want to fix the external thing, and we don't want to focus on what it's doing to us on the inside. So I'm thankful for you helping people to do that. Like let's just do the hard work of looking at your soul
Mm-hmm.
and seeing where you are there and where Jesus is there. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the kind that's what bears the fruit that lasts. It's
Yep.
takes a
Yep.
while, but it definitely bears fruit. Hey, you mentioned in one of your bios about your son Roman. He's 5, you said. So
He turns
you're
5 on Saturday. Yep. Lord
yeah.
help
So
us. Yep.
you're not getting any sleep. Um, he's into everything. But you mentioned he's a miracle. Do you want to
Yeah.
talk about that? Like explain that or
Oh man. It would take up the rest of our time probably.
yeah. Hey, it's good to talk about our kids, man. So you take all the time you
Yeah.
want.
He So my wife and I tried for several years to get pregnant, and um, the doctors basically said that Jill wasn't going to be able to get pregnant naturally. That just wasn't in the cards. There was some different infertility issues and whatever. And so we went the IVF route and did a couple rounds of that and had miscarriages every time. And we were gearing up for our last IVF transfer. And I know that's, for some Christians, IVF gets into some murky things, and um, I'm just gonna, if that's you, I'm just gonna let you talk to your good friend Jesus about that.
Yeah.
Um, but we were gearing up for our last round. We had 3 embryos left, and Jill went in for the mock transfer, um, and they said, "Oh, you missed it by a couple days, so come back next month. We'll try it again." Great, okay. Um, the next month, I am sitting in a church leadership meeting, and she sends me a text um, of a pregnancy test that says it's positive, um, and um, and we did not believe that. We did not believe, because we were told that's not a possibility.
Right.
And so she went and did another one, and it came back positive, and we still didn't really believe that. I mean, I broke down crying in this meeting. I couldn't speak. I couldn't. Our pastor, who's also like one of my closest friends, told me later that he thought somebody had died when I had set down the phone, and we went to the doctor, confirmed it with our IVF doctor, who also didn't believe it. I mean, he told us straight up, told us, listen, you've had a lot of miscarriages. Don't put a lot of hope in this, which seems like a wild thing for a doctor to say. Like, I've never
Yeah.
wanted to like punch an old man doctor before, but came real close that day. Because
Yeah.
who says that? Who says that? But yeah, man. 7 years into this, of trying, Roman came without, any IVF help, without, um, with us being just told, yeah, it's not a possibility.
Wow.
Um, and he's wonderful. He's, was healthy. He came a few days early, but not too early. But it was a wild. Jill woke up with contractions like 5 minutes apart, uh, 1:30 in the morning, already, you know. So we went to the hospital, rushed to the hospital, um, and they said, this was October of 2020, right? We found out Jill was pregnant like 3 weeks before the world shut down,
Mm-hmm.
and we weren't even sure if I was going to be allowed in the room with her. Because another friend of ours had a baby a couple weeks before, and he wasn't allowed in the room. Um, and so they told us, look, you're allowed in the room, but just go out in your car and wait until we tell you, he's coming. It's a first pregnancy. It'll probably be 12 hours of labor. Just go get some sleep. Okay. And then about 5 minutes later, I get a knock on the door. It's like, no, he's coming. Come, you gotta come right now. So 1:30 in the mornings when she woke up, um, 3:46 a.m. is when Roman came into the world.
Wow.
Just super quick. No, Jill didn't get any drugs. She didn't get any, like, she just had to push through it. Really difficult. And out of that, because it was so quick, um, Roman was fine, but Jill was not. Placenta got left in, got infected. Um, so she ended up in the hospital again. Those first 2 months, probably, I don't even remember anymore, 3 or 4 times. I don't remember. She almost died a couple times because of the placenta that got left in and got infected, and then she ended up having some blood clots that went unnoticed, and yeah, such a terrifying first few months there.
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where we hold the tension, right? You want to talk about being calm? Uh, hold the tension of, we have this miracle child. Um, so thankful for this child, but also all this like medical trauma that came along with it.
Yeah.
And you talk about how important those first few months are to like attachment and all those things, and like it was so chaotic, so
Mm.
chaotic. So um, it's one of those stories that I hold kind of like Joseph being like punched in the hip, given a limp
Yeah.
for the rest of his life, kind of thing. Like we wrestled, and we walked away, um, thankful, but with a limp, you know.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. Man, that's a beautiful story. I kept thinking like that's a holy story. Like
yeah.
you don't just like say it. You hold it as you share it. It's weighty. Yeah, that's a good. I just had a conversation this morning with somebody. We talked about Joseph with a limp. I mean, yeah, Jacob with a limp, and like,
Or Jacob,
man,
sorry.
you wrestle with God, and you will walk differently after that.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And full circle, we're looking at spiritual formation and like how do we as leaders do that? And what I kept thinking while you were talking was like it's hard to birth things. I say that as a man who will never give birth, right? But like physically, I know it's hard. I mean, because my wife's told me, but spiritually, Paul says in Galatians to them, he says like I'm in labor until Christ is formed in you. And that's the work that we do. That's the hard work that we're called to. And you know, man, to anybody who's listening to this and you're thinking about getting into leadership and you're especially spiritual leadership, just know like it's worthy, it's beautiful, and there's like you wouldn't trade Roman for anything. And I've got three beautiful children, and I wouldn't take anything for them. But it's hard work to
Yep.
see other people formed, and whether we do that through counseling, through pastoring, however we do that, we are in labor. I felt that while you were talking. It's like, man, that feels eerily familiar to coaching people along in their discipleship.
Yeah.
Like it's, am I going to die? It feels like it. And
Quite
is it going to
possibly.
be
Yeah.
worth it? Absolutely, but it's still not something to be taken lightly. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And happy birthday, Roman. On Saturday, you
Happy
said.
birthday. Yeah. Saturday.
Wow,
Yeah. It's a couple
5.
days. Yeah.
If we it took us a while to get pregnant. Us, I keep saying us. My wife took my wife a while to get pregnant when we were married. 7 years of trying, and we ironically we were in a church where she was with one lady and I was in the prayer room, and at two different places, but at the same time we were told. I found it was told through scripture, and she was told by this woman that within a year you're going to have a child, and we were
Hmm.
like, okay, God, if you want to do that. So that's why we had twins. I tell people we had twins because she was told that and I was told that. So God's like, yeah, 1 + 1's 2. But within a year we had twins, and
Uh,
um, I would just encourage people too that are listening that maybe they're struggling with infertility. That we hear you, we see you. It's a hard road to walk. Um,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, if I just hey get in a church, get somewhere, find people that can be alongside you while you're, wrestling through that and believing God,
Yeah.
for a child.
Well,
Yeah,
and on the other side of that too is being on. I mean, our stories ended well, right? Relatively well, right? But one of the most annoying things to me while we were going through it was like, asking for prayer in our church community. And for the most part, got wonderful responses, right? But then we got the responses that again, like addiction compulses to me, of like, well, have you tried just like not thinking about it for a while? You know, one lady tried to sell us some essential oils, right? And the reality is, and the truth is, that whether we had Roman or not, whether that happened or not, the spiritual formation still would have done its work in us. Like we're being formed one way or the other, right? It doesn't
yeah,
matter. It's just um, God would have formed us into, I believe, into still who we are now, um, with or without Roman, right? We get to see kind of that resurrection, the side of eternity, that little resurrection that we get. Um, but I think it's just as true for people that don't get to see that. Is
yeah,
the work is still there and God is still good. I think that's one of the hardest things to think about and pray for was, whether we want this or not, do the work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, whatever it is you're going to do. And still, so, I got real sensitive to like hearing the stories of like, if it will work out if you do A, B, and C, right?
Right.
And we don't always get that. I'm thankful that I
Yeah.
did. Um, I would have had a limp either way, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a different kind of limp.
Yeah.
But
For sure.
yeah, I'm thankful. I'm thankful that we have uh, that we have Roman. I couldn't imagine my life any other way. But yeah,
Yeah. I think I can't remember chapter and verse, but I know it's in Romans, and Paul says that we rejoice with those who rejoice and we mourn with those who mourn.
yep,
And I read an article by a pastor that said we typically flip that around and we try to get people who are mourning to rejoice, and we
mm-hmm.
try to get people who are rejoicing to mourn. And it's like,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
we hold space for all of that. Like, and that's what makes the body a beautiful and hard thing is, on any given Sunday or whatever day you gather to worship, somebody could be coming in with a praise like, hey, we've been trying for years and Roman is here. And in that
right,
same time, you could have somebody saying, we've been trying for years and we just found out it'll never happen. And
right,
a mature body doesn't try to get rid of that tension. It
mm-hmm,
just
mm-hmm.
recognizes the grace of God in all of that,
Right,
and comes alongside those people. So you're right. I think it's good for us to remember that. Not the way that we typically do it in the American church is, hey, you've got a great story, so write a book about it. We'll put you on the platform, and
mm-hmm.
you can tell people to do it exactly like you did it, and
Yep.
not answer to them when it doesn't work out.
Right,
you know.
right.
So that's tough. Hey, you're making a transition, aren't you? Did I read
Yeah,
that somewhere? Like you're going
yeah,
from recovery programs to teaching theology?
yep, yep. Um, which again, one of those things I'm thankful for and angry about at the same time. Yep. Um, I loved, I love the recovery world. I love, um, you know, it's my emphasis in our program. End up writing a lot about that. I write a lot about it on Substack. It's my world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before transitioning to teaching, I was managing a men's homeless shelter here in town, and um, in recovery and homelessness usually go hand in hand. It shouldn't be that way, but I mean, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction knows no bounds. It doesn't have favorites. So when I was at the recovery center, we had people that were homeless. We had people that were millionaires, and all of them had drug or alcohol addictions. In a homeless shelter, you're going to see a lot of drugs. Is how people survive the trauma that they're experiencing on the street, right? My definition of addiction is like trying to gain control of people or situations when we feel like we have lost control. And so when you're out on the streets, you have lost control of everything. You really don't make any decisions really for yourself. Um, it may feel that way, but one of the ways they learn to cope with that pain and that loss of control is drugs make you feel sort of normal. They can make you feel like um, their idea of normal is like, well, those people don't seem to be overwhelmed by their feelings. So if I take a drug and stuff all my feelings, maybe I'll be normal too,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I was really enjoying that, but then all the kind of funding freezing happened at the start of the year with this administration, and that changed, especially here in Tucson, being so close to the border. A lot of agencies just straight up shut down.
Wow.
Um, the shelter I was at, is thankfully still running, but it was this like we might not be here next year. We don't know. Um, we didn't get a lot of federal funding. It was like 30%, something like that, but that's not insignificant. And so we had to let a lot of people go. People are being, let go left and right. And every agency I talked to in town was in the same boat. Like, we can't hire anyone. We don't know if we'll ever get back there. We don't know what our agency is going to look like in a year. And so I started to think, like, okay, how do these skills transfer? Um, and my bachelor's is in theology and counseling. My master's in spiritual formation. So I found a theology teaching degree, a teaching position, and thought, like, I'm used to teaching adults who act like children. I can probably teach actual children, and it'll be fine. And children who think they're adults at that. Um, and yeah, so God allowed that to happen. It's been really fun. And a lot of those skills do transfer, like that classroom management, trying to keep everyone calm thing transfers. The addiction transfers, if to nothing else, their phones, because that's always going to be a struggle in a classroom.
Yeah.
I had one kid tell me recently, like, he literally spent, what he said, 8 hours, 9 hours playing some game on his phone, like the night before. It's like, man,
Wow.
that's rough. So it's been really fun, but it's been like getting 10th graders to want to care about theology is quite the challenge.
Yeah.
And it's a learning curve for me. Teaching in a classical form is much different than the education I got growing up, and different than most things I know. And so, yeah, learning curve, but been a really fun learning curve. The kids are really fun. I'm trying to frame it in a spiritual formation manner of, like, I don't care where you end up on most of these theological issues. What I want you to think about is, how does it impact how you worship God and how you treat others, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I use A.W. Tozer as an example of, like, great theologian, right? But, like, I don't know if you know the story of his wife, right? Where, like, so after A.W. Tozer, Aiden, after he died, she got remarried to a guy, I forget his name, Jack or something, I don't remember. She got married to this other guy, and one of her friends asked her, like, how are you liking being married? How does it compare to Aiden? And she said, I am the happiest I've ever been. Aiden really loved Jesus Christ, but this man loves me.
Mm-hmm.
And how heartbreaking that is. And some of the kids get it. Some of the kids see the heartbreak, and some of the kids look at me like, I don't see the problem. Like, aren't we supposed to love God more than our spouse? And so helping them make the connection with, like, if this theology doesn't change how you treat people, like, if it doesn't change loving God and loving others, we've kind of missed the mark, right? We're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to end up in a place where my wife, when I die, my wife says, yeah, I really love Jesus, but he sucked at loving me,
Yeah.
right? And if we can't make that connection, so a lot of it is when I'm trying to ground it in that, and helping,
Yeah.
hopefully helping them um, see how it impacts their day to day, and not just like a set of beliefs.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Our church is in a series in Philippians, and so this past Sunday I was in the first part of chapter 2, and Paul's talking about, like, if you've received all these things from God, then complete my joy by doing these things for each other. And it just, as you're talking, I guess, not that we have to close this spiritually, but what keeps going through my mind is, and I love that you shared that about the funding, because we have such a divided culture, and even in church, where people have all kinds of opinions about things that happen at a distance. But what I love about you is that you just brought that issue and made it's personal. Like, hey, I know somebody now who was impacted by policies that we fight about and debate about and argue about at a distance. And God is not a God who stays at a distance. Like, that's the whole point of Philippians 2, is like,
Right.
Jesus humbled himself and came near us when he didn't have to. He could have stayed with God. I mean, he could have said, hey, I'm God. I'm going to stay up here. He came close. He got involved in our mess. And
Yep.
because he did that, now we do that for one another. And I so appreciate that you're doing that. I'm glad God opened a door for you where you are. And yeah, I think impacting those kids, helping them see like good theology is always gonna like be displayed in how we treat one another. Always. I mean, I think the Bible's got a lot to say about that, right? Like
Just a
First
little
John,
bit. Just a little
like
bit.
an entire letter was written basically saying like, don't even tell me you love Jesus if you can't love each other, right?
Right,
So
right.
it's kind of a big deal to God. I appreciate that you're doing that. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for
Yeah.
having me.
I so appreciate you spending time with us and just like sharing some of your story, talking to us about Roman. I love all that you're doing. How would people get in touch with you? I know you mentioned Substack, and we might have to have
Mhm.
a separate conversation at our next cohort because I'm trying to get started on Substack and I'm coming from
Okay.
WordPress and we don't have to get into all that, but oh my gosh, just blowing my mind.
Yeah.
How would people get in touch with you if they want to? I'm sure our listeners are going to want to follow up and see all the stuff that you're doing.
Sure. If they would like, absolutely. Yeah, I write it's called Recovery Formation, um, at Substack.
Okay.
So you can find me. That's mainly where I'm at. I try not to deal with all the other social media things. And Substack is uh, increasingly becoming more and more like every other social media platform to my dismay. But um, it's okay. It's still a fun place to be. It's still not as frustrating as some of the others. So I'll take it while it's still good.
Yeah.
But that's the main place. Yeah, yeah. And that I encourage you. You should do a Substack, man. I think it's a fun place
I'll
to
go
be.
check
Yeah.
I'll go check yours out and learn from the best and then get started.
Oh, oh, I don't know about that. But I would appreciate it. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's good talking to
We'll
you,
put
man.
all that. Yeah. We'll put that in the show notes for sure. And appreciate
Yeah,
you taking time to hang out with us today.
yeah. Thanks, Paul.
Hey, thanks for hanging out with us and for being a part of this episode. Didn't I tell you that was going to be a great interview? How about we do this? Everybody just take one slow breath in and out. Breathe in and receive God's life. Breathe out and release the hurry. And if something's messy, don't chase the quick fix. Ask Jesus to start healing your soul. Big thanks to our friend Dustin. You can find him on Substack at Recovery Formation. You'll find the link in the show notes. And as always, if this helped, I hope you'll share it with a friend who's maybe carrying a lot. I want you to share this episode. I want you to like it, maybe send us a review. And most of all, I want you to remember that if you'll keep giving God your yes, He will take care of the rest. Have a great rest of your day.